Hey guys, and welcome to The Broken Sword.
Hello everybody!
So, hopefully if you're here and watching this video, you have now seen episode 1 of The Rings of Power.
Hopefully you enjoyed it too.
We did. If you've seen our non-spoiler review, we
Yep.
gave our general thoughts. We enjoyed the episode, but there were some things, of course, that
Yes.
we weren't happy with. So, in these videos, after each episode, we will be going through the episode as best we can, as accurately as we can, and giving our pros and cons to
Yep.
each moment, each scene, etc.
Yeah.
So, it has been a day or two since we watched the episode, so
Yeah.
there may be the odd thing that we missed for this one, but from now on we will be obviously watching them in our own time and be able to take notes and stuff. So, with that being said, let's just get straight into it.
Okay, yes. So episode 1 starts off, like you expect Lord of the Rings to these days, with a prologue.
It does. So it begins with a young Galadriel, right?
Yes, like young. Because young Galadriel is like the entire show now. But
Yeah,
young.
super young Galadriel, like kid Galadriel.
Yes.
She's playing around. She's got a little paper boat thing. She's with some friends. They're kind of bantering a little. She sets off the boat down some water, and it magically turns into like a nice ship.
Yes.
And yeah, there's some cool dialogue over it, and it was a okay way to open the show, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those that I don't really know what it added to the story, but it was also introducing us to our main character of the show.
Yeah.
So,
It basically just led into a way to follow through to the prologue and give us a full backstory of where we are at the start of the show. Now,
Yes.
as for the boat moment, I could take it or leave it. I didn't really add anything to it for me, so I
No.
don't know whether to give that as a pro or a con. What are you saying?
it's not really either. That's the
No
point.
point.
No point. That's a nil point.
Yes.
So yeah, but that actually moves us on to something a bit more interesting, which is our summary, basically, of the main events of the first age.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, funnily enough, there's pros and cons to this.
Yes.
So yeah, if we kind of go through them more bit by bit.
So there was a mention of the two trees, which
Yes.
we got to see. And
Stunning.
They looked phenomenal. I would, as a special effects artist, be concerned about doing a shot like that.
Yeah.
How do you make two trees look really bright and...
Yeah,
Like, it
they
just-
light up the world.
Yeah, it just doesn't...
in a way. And also then, how do you then show, well, one of the Valar, a god, sucking the light, the giant spider sucking the light from those trees and basically taking their essence away.
Yeah.
And it was done in a very, satisfying way.
Yeah. There was a shot of basically the shadow of Morgoth over the trees, and even the mention of his name, which I kind of wasn't expecting, strangely.
No, and it was said a lot more than I
Yeah.
thought they might get one or two little references, but no, they would happily just, spilling it.
So that is an absolute pro.
Yes.
I don't know where our pros and cons readers are going to be yet, but that was definitely a pro.
Yes.
I'm going to use my notebook here to make a note of how many pros and cons we have, so we can summarize it at the end. But that was a pro. Just seeing Morgoth, seeing the two trees, it looked fantastic.
Yes.
We went from that into a description of some of the great battles of the First Age,
Yes.
featuring Fingon.
Yes, and it felt like they almost kind of summarized the whole war into a battle a bit.
Yeah.
But it's the same way the Fellowship summarized the whole war into one battle.
Yeah.
Like, there was a siege and a battle with that, and there was many battles in this, when they kind of just went the similar route of just kind of going, there was a lot of fighting. They kind of said it was over a long time, but...
Yeah, so straight away I'll give that a con. It was brushed over a little. I get it's a summary and it's a prologue, but it didn't give a full description of the epicness that is the First Age battles, like
Yes.
all of them. As for the battles themselves, the shots that we do see of Fingon, mid-fight, just looked incredibly epic.
Yeah,
and I want more of that.
The one that sticks in my mind is the when he turns and the orc gets shot through the mouth, I think it was.
That was so cool.
And it was just, it was that chaos of battle that was really felt. And they did a great job of actually making it feel like this was a very dark thing.
Yes.
Not just a glorious elven warrior kind of thing. It was deadly.
Yeah, so for that we have the battle sequences, definitely a pro, but the vague descriptions and kind of...
The glossing over.
Is a con. Also, I want to touch upon, it kind of ties in with that, but there's the underwater shots, like those red shots.
Yes. I will admit, I made such a bigger deal out of these shots in all the trailers than I expected. I expected it to be something much more.
Yeah.
I didn't expect... I think in the end I kind of settled on it was going to come later in the show, not be a prologue thing.
Yeah.
Epic shot, but it was like a blink and you miss it kind of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of the epicness of the shots in the battle, there was a shot of a dragon and an eagle.
Oh, Yes.
Dude, that's an instant pro. That was just just what I want to see.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff early on that gets you just hooked, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah. Like, people talked about VFX maybe not looking great in this show. I think in the first, 5 minutes, you went, no, they've done fine.
Yeah.
They have done fine.
Again, sort of similar point, but Fingon's death, it made it sound like, oh yeah, he just died in the battle, and now Galadriel's going to take over. And again, it's like glossing over. That's not what happened. So,
yeah, you don't know anything about him being stuck in a dungeon with Beren and fighting off a werewolf, but dying from the wounds he suffered from doing it. I mean, they hint it 'cause they show all the scratches and stuff all over his body, so they're not saying it didn't happen, but they're not showing why he's all scratched. And I guess they just make it appear that something like that killed him in battle.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're just there going, no, show me more.
Yeah.
Give me more of it.
So we'll give that another con, but again, it's just that glossing over.
Yeah.
We also, at this point with his body, see the mark of Sauron for the first time.
Yes, which is a completely new introduction for the show.
And I'm all for it. I really liked it. At the premiere, I even wore a pin badge with the mark on, because I think it's pretty cool. So we'll give that a pro.
Yeah.
Also in this prologue, we got to see Sauron, which I was not expecting. Fully armoured.
Yeah. I mean, silhouetted a bit, so not details, but yeah. Very much took inspiration from the design from the movies.
Yeah.
So I guess people would be more familiar, but also they're not copying it. And
no. It very much just looks like this, but...
Probably larger. I feel like they made him bigger.
They did make him bigger, I think, yes. I like that. That gave me chills. So, yeah, that's another pro for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the gist of the prologue out the way. So then we move into the present story, and it starts with the strangers, with the giant antlers.
Yeah, the things that were one of the first reveals they made of the entire show, and they're such a passing thing. It's kind of... It's almost harsh to say it's a con of the episode. It's a con of the marketing leading up to the show.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if we should really give... it's not an episode... there was nothing bad in the episode about it.
No.
It was just...
It kind of made sense story-wise. It's a good way of revealing the Harfoots.
Yeah.
The whole antlers and stuff, it just wasn't necessary. I want to give it a con.
Hey, everyone, give it a con, give it a con.
I have not been scoring these.
No.
We'll forget that. The edit's going to be fun. So the pointlessness of those characters gets a con. However, that leads into the introduction of the Harfoots. As the strangers move past, the Harfoots kind of pop out of the ground and reveal their hidden village, if you will.
Yes, they feel a lot more part of nature than potentially what hobbits do later on, which is basically how they're set up. That's how they were written. That is what Harfoots are in the story. So.
Yeah, and people have kicked off about this in the lead up to it, saying oh, it's ridiculous, having dark-skinned hobbits. The hobbits weren't around at this time. It's stupid that they're wanderers. Well, no, this literally is what Tolkien wrote. He wrote that they are shorter, dark-skinned travelers or wanderers.
In fact, plug here. Check out Monday's video for that exact topic.
Yes. Yeah, and again, that will be covered in that video, but even though Tolkien didn't necessarily write about the hobbits in the Second Age, it's very clearly and explicitly written that the Shire's records began in the Third Age.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that is basically it. It's around 1600 of the Third Age is when Shire reckoning started. But they never always existed in that area. It was elsewhere, and there was 3 breeds of them. So there could be, in fact, there could be way more of them out there that we meet.
Yeah. So there we go. The Harfoots and the introduction is definitely a pro for me.
Yes.
And we said this in our non-spoiler review.
Yeah.
They were the thing that we were kind of meh about going into it. I didn't feel their relevance. I thought they were just probably there to be familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, those are hobbits. I know what those are. But I absolutely loved them. The casting of Nori, Lenny Henry's character, I forget his name, but they were brilliant. I loved them.
Yeah. Even with Lenny Henry's character, even in the trailers, it kind of felt like he was a bit of a over quirky. Kind of eccentric guy.
Yeah.
It's not that extreme in the show at all. Okay, yeah, he's a bit the village elder type, knows stuff and all that, but he wasn't as almost comedic, I guess.
No.
They tried to make him seem because of who they cast.
The skies are strange.
Yeah.
That line, again in the trailer, going back to context, it just seemed a bit odd.
Yeah.
In the moment, with context, I loved that scene. That whole little moment between him and Nori was brilliant. Loved it. So yeah, there's definitely a pro there. I think we've already awarded it though.
Yeah.
Let's keep this score fair. We then move on, we think, if we're remembering correctly, to the ice stuff, we'll call it. So
Yes.
Galadriel is beginning her search for the remnants of orcs and Sauron.
Yeah, going so far north that nobody really knows anything, and it's a case of then going like, well, nothing could live out here because it's so cold and horrendous. Like, not even the bad could.
So there's the shots that we see from the trailer of like the ice climb with the ice picks and stuff, and Galadriel, you know, chucking her dagger in, and looking up. Again, that was something from the trailer that I was really iffy about. I just didn't think it looked great. They were trying to be epic for the sake of it, and I was a bit unsure. When it came to seeing it, it blew me away.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little more on the fence with it, that maybe they held on that part a bit long. Like, it was one of those that with the amount of stuff they were setting up, maybe there was a bit much on the climb and the traveling. Like, I get it was bad, I just feel like they could have, like, I think I just wanted to see so much that I was like, well, why are we pausing on this for a moment?
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, maybe if one of them had fallen and died and showed how perilous it was, there would have been more reason, but because they're all fine, it's like, yeah, they wait till get to the top and then go, yeah, maybe this is a bit tough now, we should turn back. It's like, couldn't have said that at the bottom of the big ice hill? Like, again, I feel like it might be being a bit picky, and watching it again, I might not feel it as much. But with the speed of the episode, it suddenly felt like that was a almost strange place to suddenly pause, to slow down. Like, when they got on top, that made sense, but that climb part...
Yeah, no, yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, we'll give that a con. But I also want to give it a pro just for how epic the shots were.
Yeah.
So it's one apiece for that moment. Let's talk a little bit about the snow troll.
Yes.
So they get to a cave eventually, and...
I suppose, well, slightly just before the snow troll is the... I'm not sure if it was an anvil or
yes.
the stone that was hot.
Yeah. And there was some cool moments here, actually. There was... where they talk about how cold it is, and Galadriel says something on the lines of it, like, even it's so cold and so evil here that
fire
even
doesn't give off heat.
Yeah, the
like
torches aren't giving
like
off
it lights
heat.
up, but no heat, which I think is a cool thing. Because usually they would just go, it blows out the torches, so they're in darkness. But no, they work. They just forget to do half their job.
And we got to remember that this is a fantasy magical world, so things like this actually like make sense. Like evil has an effect, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give a pro for that. Let's move on to the snow troll. So they're in the cave. We see the Eye of Sauron, or the Mark of Sauron on the anvil. I thought that was quite cool. But then we moved very swiftly to the arrival of a snow troll. I thought his reveal was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Again, in the trailers, it was a shot that I was concerned about, and so were many people. The VFX didn't look great. It actually blew me away.
Oh, stunning.
I thought it looked fantastic.
Yeah, the people working on those things, they did such a great job. Makes you think that maybe the trailer was an unfinished shot.
Perhaps, yeah.
That they still had a few if you get it, all that, it's had a few renders to go through or something. But no, as a part of the show, didn't take me out of it at all. Didn't feel like a massive visual effect.
No. So definitely a pro for the snow troll. The fight scene with the snow troll. This I'm going to straight away go con.
Yes.
It's kind of like your Legolas set pieces, you know. You look back at the Jackson trilogy. I love those moments. You know, you have the Legolas taking on the cave troll, sliding down the stairs at Helm's Deep on the shield, and taking on the Mumakil. They're all moments that are just a little bit silly, but they are action set pieces. They're supposed to be memorable moments, which they are, of course. Everybody remembers those moments.
And I guess, but with those, they got more ridiculous. Like the cave troll one was kind of like, it'd been established he could walk on snow, so he was light-footed, so going up the chain and everything was kind of doable, but not too out of the realms of possibility. The stair thing was whatever. Let's just, and the Mumakil was a bit way over the top.
Yeah.
And Galadriel, they kind of went like, shall we go that far, or shall we? And
they didn't go as far as The Hobbit, where he's running up fallen stones. That was ridiculous. But it still felt a little bit too set-piecey to me, if that makes sense.
Yes, and it was very much like this tough group of elves who've been sent to search for the Dark Lord, Sauron, who's out there. And they kind of get thrown around by a troll, but then Galadriel comes and saves the day.
Yeah, she's like, oh, useless elves, I'll do it.
It's like, I'm scared to say Mary Sue, but I'm worried that it will go that way if it keeps going like that.
But Galadriel is supposed to be super powerful.
Yes.
Not necessarily as a sword-wielding warrior, but she is a powerful and very, very old elf. So you imagine thousands of years of battle, you'd be pretty badass too.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a con for the fight scene.
Yes.
We then move on to the Southlands.
Yes. And I suppose we might just quickly touch on a pro here, which kind of links the things, is the map transitions.
Oh, love them.
Pure fantasy, I feel like Middle-earth is kind of what set this kind of thing up, and it fits so well, and I love the way it was done.
Yeah, I loved it. It looked stunning. So pro for the map transitions. I'm going to go to a con directly from that.
Yes.
So the Southlands, although I like that we are visiting that area, it's supposed to be like far southern east, right? Which should be kind of Mediterranean deserty.
Yeah, I mean, if you see any artwork or descriptions of the lands of Harad or Rune, that's what they are. It's deserts more than anything.
But this looked like
we
a
were in
dark
Rohan.
Rohan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a dark one at points either.
No,
Like it just looked
green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, we're trying to break down the geography of Middle-earth, but it didn't seem right.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Even aesthetically, what's wrong with it? I don't know. So that's a con for me.
Yeah.
We, at this moment, get introduced to Arondir, who is our lead elven character outside of Galadriel, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Lead over this part of the story,
Yeah.
at least.
So the elves here are kind of watching over the remnants of supporters of Morgoth.
Yes. And
Essentially.
it's been, like, Arondir says he's been there for, what was it,
79 years?
Yeah, so it's basically, he's gone through like a generation of men in this time, and he's basically blaming the kids for the mistakes of their fathers.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting like dynamic of that elven men dislike of like they don't trust them, and the men were like, well, they're oppressing us for no reason. We're not those people.
Yeah.
And I think that relationship works quite well.
Yeah. But I really like this idea for a storyline of, oh, these people were known for supporting the Dark Lord. Like, we need to keep an ie on them.
Yes.
There could be uprisings. I think that's a really interesting storyline. And I'm very excited to see where it's going. And we'll touch upon more details soon. But with this story, they introduced that there's clearly something going on between Arondir and Bronwyn. Yeah, Bronwyn, who is the female human. There's very clearly some kind of tension between them. I don't think it's made clear that nothing has happened between them, but there's clearly an attraction.
Yes.
Which is interesting, because we know that elf and human, or elf and man, however you want to word it, relationships only happen a few times in Middle-earth. There's Beren and Luthien.
Yeah.
There's Aragorn and Arwen. We know that is the only real successful.
Well, yeah, that's the whole
relationship.
point that's made. Is it basically takes 3 times to have a success, and it's kind of specified that that's the number. So that's, for me, it's kind of a con that they're doing that as a storyline. It's that there's some of the few, like, and it is one of those little things, like they have changed and added little bits, most of which I don't really have an issue with, but ones like that, which are a bit more set in stone, I was a bit more like, I don't want another love triangle type situation. I know this isn't triangle, but love triangle type situation from The Hobbit, where you're just like, that was just unneeded. And I'm scared that storyline might go too far into that part rather than the orcs coming back part.
Yeah, I'm more worried about them going back and forth, like, oh, they're going to kiss. No, they're not. Oh, they're going to get together. Oh, no, they're not. If it just is a season of that will grind me down very quickly.
Yes.
So, yeah, like James said, definitely a con for that. But I am okay with the storyline in this universe. Like, it just kind of, it fits. And the two characters, the actors, I felt did have chemistry, and I'm all about it. So, yes, not a pro, but I'm okay. Again, we're unsure on the order here, and if I remember this correctly, but there's also Theo, who is Bronwyn's son. He finds the remnants of some kind of very clearly evil sword.
Yes. Because it's got the mark on it, which we do see in episode 1. Nothing really more than that. I mean, it was a bit of a strange scene in that he was with the other guy who like confronted Arondir in the bar, and he was basically making fun of Theo because his mum is in love with an elf, or so the whole village says. And then he gets angry, but then they hear someone, and the other guy's told to run off, and Theo just stays there with the sword. And it's not really explained who the person was or why they need to run or that. It seemed a bit weird why this sword was there. Obviously, like, we kind of know the idea that it's in what were Darklands and stuff, but it seemed a bit like of a convenient plot point why it was stored where it was.
It's funny because I almost want to give it a pro because I'm interested in the storyline and I want to see where this goes, but because of what James just described, I want to give it a con. So where are we going with this?
One each.
Ooh, I suppose, yeah, there's a pro and a con to it. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's a lot. It's definitely one of those things that the payoff will tell us which way that really goes.
Yes, exactly.
So at this point, it's hard to fully commit.
Again, probably forgetting a few bits here, but we're moving on now to meeting Elrond.
Yes.
So Elrond's sat in a tree and he is writing. He is working on what's clearly some kind of speech, kind of going back and forth with how he wants to get his words across, which I really liked. It was a nice introduction to Elrond. It kind of told us that he's an intellectual, and yeah, I was all about it. So straight away, just an introduction to Elrond, that's a pro. It became very apparent that he was writing a speech for Gil-galad.
Yes, that does become apparent in time because obviously he was told his friend is here. His friend, and it's like it's Galadriel. Like the whole that part was like a bit like it's like she's important. She would be named.
Yes.
Rather than going but your friend's here.
Yeah. Meteor.
Yeah. Like that was one of the bits of maybe the dialogue that was a bit like like they nailed bits and bits were a bit like I feel like that might be one of the ones where it's a bit like would you be so blasé about Galadriel returning in that context?
And it's this and again it might be confusing order here, but this whole section here where it's making out that Elrond's very much a politician. I don't know how I feel about that.
No, it's a very iffy choice. I kind of understand it by the way the story's going.
Yeah.
But whether that I'm still on the fence of deciding if it's a pro or con to have done that with Elrond himself, or whether there should have been someone else in that.
Yeah,
role.
I get it because they're using him as he's a bit of a diplomat. Like he's building bridges, and we'll get to that in our episode 2 review. But yeah, I'm on the fence with that one. So maybe no points awarded there. When we get to Gil-galad's speech. He is reading out what we previously saw Elrond writing, and it shows Elrond like mouthing the words because obviously he wrote it. I'm going to give that a con.
Yes, someone as high and mighty as Gil-galad should not need someone else writing his stuff.
No, it made me like I know this is probably not what they were going for. They were probably showing that it's political. You know, the leaders have people write their speeches and stuff, and that's just the case in real life. But to me, it came across like. Is Gil-galad like incapable? Like is he inadequate? Like can he not do this stuff himself? Like that's kind of what I was like. And maybe it's like hinting that Elrond should be leading, not Gil-galad. But that I don't think that should be the case. Gil-galad was a mighty.
Yes, that was not their relationship at all. No. Like it's
and that takes us on to another point, which is Gil-galad having the power.
Yes.
To just go. You can all go to Valinor.
Yes, I feel like the ban of the Valar is just like again there might be something that maybe we've just forgotten, maybe not, but I feel like this is very much a point that they've altered, and for someone who is coming at it from a non-Tolkien background, doesn't really seem like anything, won't matter at all. But for those of us who know the lore, it's a strange choice that I feel didn't need to be made.
No. So we'll give that a con.
Yes.
However, the aesthetic and the setting and the look of Lindon, absolute pro. Ding, ding.
Oh, yes.
It looked beautiful.
Yes.
As did the elven aesthetic in general. I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed the costumes and the trees. They looked great.
Yeah, the trees with all the carvings in, like the one of Fingon and stuff, and it felt very Khazad-dûm. It felt like the woods version of Khazad-dûm, the way all the trees were going so high and the views you got down. I was like, I can see where that relationship between the races are. Like, they might build out different things, but they understand the same kind of idea of what is nice to build. Yeah. Although you don't build trees, I guess. But you know what I mean. I like that link of the way it looked.
Yes, the other moment in this sequence is Gil-galad essentially declares the war is over. We're in a time of peace.
Yes.
So he's sending some of his warriors off to Valinor to be at peace, to live your life to the fullest and forget about these dark places. But there's like that eye contact where you can see Galadriel wants to say, no, I think Sauron's still here.
Yes.
And there's still lots of bad building. But she doesn't say it.
No.
I think Galadriel as a character would be like, no, there's Sauron's still here. Yeah. Like, she's so powerful and commanding, and I know this is meant to be kind of her origin story and how she became that amazing elven leader, I guess.
Yeah.
But I feel like character-wise, it would just be within her character to say, no, that's not right, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't think Gil-galad would be like, yeah, time of peace, good job. I feel like he would be, any uncertainty, he would be prepared to seek it out. And when he notices Galadriel's eyes, and again, it might go back around, and we might see more of Gil-galad's warrior capabilities and leader skills, but
yeah, like I feel like they're definitely building up as the king who is resistant, and then leads from the front.
Yeah,
a bit like a Theoden kind of storyline. Like I see that's how they're taking his character in this.
But for that moment, I want to give it a con.
Yeah.
Okay, so after he declares peace, we cut back to the Southlands and we see Arondir, who is part of the Elven Overwatch for this area, and he is told, war is over, we can go. And that's where we find out he's been there 79 years, but whereas everyone else is like, great, home time, he's like, oh no, the woman I love is here.
Yes.
So he just goes to see her, which again is a little bit out of character for an elf, I think.
Yes, it's the whole thing when like he arrives and she's like, oh well, where are the others? And he's like, probably searching for me.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah, not too keen on that. That sounds like a con to me. We missed this. I'm going to point out his armor. So the wooden carved armor, I thought looked fantastic.
Yes.
Absolutely loved it. I love the way he moved his bow and stuff when he was.
Yes.
Those things, I'm a big fan. So we're going to give another pro for that. While he's having this conversation with Bronwyn, talking about, I've said it so many times, just not through words, like all this stuff. Like the dialogue was decent, but it's the dynamic that we're concerned with. But during this conversation, a man arrives and he's like, "Excuse me, can you fix my cow?" He has an ill cow. So Arondir pops up when he's trying to get involved, as I guess elven healing magic can play a part for sure. Which was something again was touched on earlier. They address, she says to him like, "Do you have healers?"
Yeah.
And he explains, "Well, elves, we heal naturally. We're immortal, but we have healers in a different way." So this is kind of an ongoing theme here, and it's obviously going to get to something more. But Arondir gets involved with the cow, and he milks it.
Yep. Except no milk comes out.
No, it's
black sludge.
Goo. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, very on the nose of things are evil.
Yeah.
Stuff's getting poisoned.
Yeah. I don't know how I felt about that. It was a bit weird.
Because of a magical world, that it didn't like. It was just a neutral point to me. It was just a thing.
No score.
Yeah.
Moving on. They realise that they have to go to this place because there's evil spreading there and whatnot. They go on their journey. Sometime around this point, we see why the skies are strange. So the meteor is overhead. We get a little soft montage of Elrond and Gil-galad and Arondir and Bronwyn looking up and Lenny Henry and but they all see this meteor, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can see it's travelled a long way across Middle Earth through all these lands. It arrives. Nori and her friend, I've forgotten her name. Her other Harfoot friend.
Yeah.
Apologies. They travel to the crash site, I guess we'll call it. And lo and behold, in the crater is a strange man.
Yes, a giant, as they call him.
Yeah, we're a bit unsure if it's a giant or just a human. And a giant to them. I'm assuming just a human.
Yeah.
Although he did seem very large.
But then they are also supposed to be very small. So
yes, true.
It's we're imagining, but it's because the way they're like, oh, this isn't a man, which we're assuming is more down to the powers that he shows as opposed to the size of him.
Yeah. Now this, again, we'll touch more on this in episode 2. But this whole stranger sequence, I was concerned about. Still a little bit of concern from me as to where they are going with it. We may do a theory video on this. We'll see. Obviously, a lot of people, maybe because of the robes and stuff we see him wearing in the trailers, people are theorizing that they're going to make him Gandalf. I hope that's not true.
I'm pretty certain it's not.
Yeah,
I'm gonna kind of stick with that and hope it doesn't slap me in the face later.
Yeah. Another strong theory is it's a blue wizard because, again, they can essentially have free reign with the storyline for the blue wizards because we know nothing. We know they go east. So that's a very common theory. We don't really know too much more than that, at least from this episode. But the introduction of that story makes me very, very curious, which is a good plot point. And I like the fact that they're introducing things that we don't know, because if they stuck 100% to the plot points of the Second Age, we would go, well, that's going to happen in the next episode. That's going to happen in the next episode. And that would be boring. So introducing things like this that I am curious about is an absolute pro for me.
Yes, and I can't quite understand that people think it has to be like word for word accurate.
No.
Because for one, it would skip so much of just nothing happening and then like you cast and blah blah blah.
This person was born 1,000 years later. There was a battle. That's how the show would be if it stuck 100% to the Second Age.
It's like you said, like you can't discuss something if you already know it all, like the back of your hand. So.
Yeah, so a pro for the stranger. Probably skipping a few bits again here, but we then go to Galadriel's journey to Valinor.
Yes. Again, well, we've covered the whole idea of her being sent there is a bit of a... It was a con anyway, so we don't need to touch on that again.
Visuals here, though.
Visuals were stunning. It was one of those, as they were doing it and approaching, I was like, how are we going to see Valinor?
Yeah.
I was very, very curious on, I was like, are we going to see like an island? Are we going to see something like someone accepting them? But they did it in terms of like heavenly clouds and
I think it worked. Like that's the sense. Like if you think about the storyline through the First and Second Age with Valinor and the Valar, it's very godly. It's very heavenly. So it absolutely worked for me. So that's a pro.
Yes. However.
Yes. So there was Galadriel and the other elven warriors that were brave in their missions that were sent there. But I'm cool with that. But they were like these elven nuns or something that were like undressing them and removing their weapons. That I didn't get. Like, what was that all about?
No, like the gift of going to Valinor is supposed to be such like a gift you don't get. It's so unheard of, to the point it's not technically supposed to happen. But that's not the point for now. But then it's like, oh well, also then all these assistants get to go as well. And you're like, well,
I don't know if we just missed something and they journey. They just like the travellers on the boats that go
yeah,
back.
like if the boat had been sent from Valinor to pick them up and then go back, then fine.
That wasn't made clear. It looked like it was just these people
sent.
were here to help them. They were like maidens or something.
Yeah.
So con for me.
Yeah, like and it's the whole. I suppose we just get onto the big one of how it ends.
Yeah.
She jumps off the boat.
At
the last
she's
minute.
about to get the greatest honour that the elven race can get, or anyone can get really. And she's like, oh, I'll go all this way. Actually, I'm gonna swim all the way back to Middle Earth.
Yes, like there's a couple of I don't know how many cons this will get, to be honest, or whether we give it a general con for the sequence. But yes, why would she have got on that boat and got all that way if she knew in her heart she wasn't going to do it? That's a long way just to stand there and think. It's not like you're distracted on the way. To jump off at the end and think, I'm going to swim back the entire sea, it's ridiculous, really.
Yeah.
Like,
I know elves are capable of some pretty impressive things, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a case of that should have been done at the harbour. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like I get they probably wanted to show us the Valinor close entrance.
Yeah. And this bit will be included in episode 2, but I know why they did it and the reason for her making this journey, but there were other ways to do it that made a lot more sense.
Yes.
That wouldn't give cons in our video.
Yes.
So, yes, that's a con for that.
Yeah.
I think we'll give 2 for that.
Yeah.
2 cons. We've come to the end of the episode. We haven't scored it.
I
feel like there was more cons.
I feel like there was more cons, but we were conning more specific things.
Yeah.
And we've pro'd more general things.
Yeah. I mean, if we were to go through now and be like, Lenny Henry, pro.
Yeah, if we're going to go through every cast member, then that's a lot of pros. If we were going to go through just a generic storyline on parts, there might be 2 pros, 2 cons. So it's hard to potentially split it the way that we've done this.
Yeah. This is difficult, but the problem is we also just done a spoiler-free review where we talked very positively. So I feel like we were like missing out bits that we talked about in that.
Yes, and I will say I preferred episode 2 to episode 1.
Yes.
Episode 2 was better. This was very set up. And here are our characters, here are the lands that you need to know. Here's enough information if you know the backstory that kind of like wets the palate. But also here's enough to kind of fill people in who don't know any of it without overloading them with stuff that they won't really need to know in the end.
Yeah. I guess the whole point in these videos is to be as critical as possible, not just to sit here and write you a love letter to it.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it. Episode 1 was good. It was world building. It was stunning. Cast was great. There's
Yes.
a load of cons and a load of pros.
So
Whichever way it is,
you'll see. But I feel like to finish it off, then give episode 1 a score out of 10,
Oh boy.
and we'll go for this for the whole series.
Yeah. Okay. So
episode 1.
off the bat, it definitely wasn't perfect. Hence this big pile of cons. It was, however, a very good introduction to the world for both people new to Tolkien and people experienced with Tolkien. There's a lot we didn't see, and there's a lot we did see. Oh, God.
Number.
I'm going to go 7.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. It's a lot better than I was expecting. However, if I gave it too high of a number, I think episode 2 was considerably better than episode 1, so there's not room for improvement. So 7, I think, is a fair result.
Okay. Can we give 0.5s?
No.
Ah, damn it. I'm going to have to go 7. I would have gone 7.5, but I'm actually going to round it down to 7. Because there was so much, like the prologue stuff, like being able to see the trees and all that, like I loved it. I very much enjoyed the episode. Maybe it was a bit rushed and glossed over at times, which was a bit disappointing. And the fact that originally there were 10 episodes and they brought it down to 8, I feel like we felt that in these episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will later on or not, but yeah, I felt like I just wanted that little bit more. Like there was just not quite enough there to, I'd say, fulfill me, but I really did enjoy it. I'm trying not to say it was perfect, because it wasn't. But I also don't want to make it sound like it was awful, because it wasn't.
So I think 7's a fair score.
Yeah, and I think for a general episode 1 of a season, not just a season, but a whole show,
Yeah.
I think that's quite standard.
And let's not forget, a show with so much pressure on it.
Yes, and you're building a world that you can't just dive into easily. It's not like, say, if you pick a show like Breaking Bad, for example, off the top of my head. Like, that's set in this world. It's quite easy to just kind of be in it, and you kind of understand how everything works.
Yeah.
Even something, say, like The Boys, which is another Amazon show. Okay, yes, there's a very superhero-based thing that's not real, but the world is a lot more real to be basing it in, and everything makes a lot more sense in that regard.
Yeah.
Whereas Middle-earth, things don't work that way. So it's a lot harder to just crack on from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, you do need to establish these things.
Yeah.
And they are, at the end of the day, not just selling this to Tolkien fanatics. This is for all Amazon customers. So everyone needs to be able to appreciate it the same. If you're going to overdo it in episode 1 and put people off because it's too fantasy, then that would be a mistake on their part in terms of a product. I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy a much more lore-based thing more, but you got to understand who's making the product. So yeah, all of that meant 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Got there in the end.
Yeah. I started thinking about my lunchtime, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, so hopefully you kind of get an idea of how we felt about the episode from this video. Episode 2's pros and cons will be out straight after the episode 2 release, which will probably be within like an hour max of this release. So make sure you check out that as well. I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's please keep it clean, keep it constructive. But be honest, I do want to know what you think. We have jumped off, not that we were ever on it, but we're not on the hate bandwagon, that's for sure. We've jumped way off it, and I want to support this show. I think it was great. So well done, Amazon. Well done to all the cast and crew. You've done a great job.
Yep, you've set yourself up so well.
Yes, but I'm so hungry. I really need to go before I pass out on camera.
Okay.
Plus, like it's getting chilly in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's really chilled.
Yeah. Okay, let's go and. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time on The Broken Sword.
Bye, guys.
Build me an army worthy of more.